What up, what up? Okay, we have 3 shows to review, and we have 4 lists out for this weekend. So I don't know if I'm gonna do one video or 2 separate videos. I have something fuzzy in my eye. I have 3 dogs. And then I also have soup in the fridge that I made earlier, and I'm really eager to eat it. So it's like, do we do both at once, or do I do one, take a break, eat some soup, and come back? I think we'll do them both at once, maybe separate videos. I should have taken care of this hair in my eye first. So anyway, let's get started. So we're gonna start with the Masters show, the Ultimate Grand Prix. So who did I say we should be looking at for this show? I said Tiffany Vaughn, who has not competed in years, since 2019, I believe, which I shall double check. I said I was really excited to see what she looked like. I don't think I mentioned it in the video when we watched her posing or when we looked at her old pictures, but my main concern with her was going to be her glute depth. I wondered if she had put on much size. In the posing video we watched, she was wearing leggings, we didn't really get to see. But as you can see here, I think she's just arching a little too much and needs a little bit more glute. But this was 2019. So then she stepped on stage and then she won the show. Imagine not competing for 5 years and then thinking, oh, I'm going to see if I can do the Masters Olympia. Do one show and then you qualify for the Masters Olympia. Amazing. So go Tiffany. Let's look at what she looked like. Here she is. So she won. We'll look at her in a sec. And then I also said let's look out for Angela Russilli. But I didn't know, does she usually win 45 plus shows or 40 plus shows? So she did win a class at this, I think 50 plus. But she got second in the 40 plus division. And then I also said let's look out for Stacey Gladwell. She hasn't competed since last year, and I wanted to see what she would look like because she used to do figure and is now transitioning into bikini, and I said that she has enough muscle that she would look good for bikini, unlike if an open figure competitor stepped in and did a bikini show. That's a lot more size. It's a big difference. So yeah, and then they made top 3. So good for them. And one person I did not mention was Belen Altamirano. Sorry, what is it? Altamirano. I'm sorry, I know it's not the right pronunciation. So anyway, she got 4th. She typically does really well, so I should have mentioned her, but I didn't. So good for her. Makeup always looks on point. So let's just start with first place. And we'll only do these top 3. And they were the people we talked about anyway. So we had Tiffany winning. Let's look at her front pose and think about what may she need to work on in anticipation for the Masters Olympia. I also want to say that I just do these videos for fun. I do not mean anything personal by what I say in terms of things that I think they could improve. I'm not a judge. I just do this to sharpen my eye to see if I have a good enough eye for the criteria, since I do posing coaching and I aspire to do well in the pro league one day. So yeah, anything I say is totally not personal. If anything, I am just giving advice that I think would make these competitors even better, and then eventually I'll compete against them one day, and maybe all I'm doing is just helping them be better than me. So yeah, I just don't want anyone to, if a pro watches this, I just hope you don't take it the wrong way. I look up to you. So let's look at Tiffany. She might not be fully posed there, but this I think is her fully posed. So like I say with a lot of these athletes, we want to bring that arm closer to the body because it looks forced being out like that. And also, since she is lacking in glute, then bringing that arm closer is going to frame the glute that she has, which are great glutes, by the way. I just mean comparatively to other people she's going to be competing with. I think long term, her goal is going to be putting on more size. So if I were her, I would probably take as much time off as possible until the 2025 Masters Olympia. Maybe she could do another show when it gets closer, or maybe she'll do another one now, but I don't know that would really serve her, aside from just getting a little more stage experience in these recent times compared to when she used to compete in 2019 and before. But the fact that she might not even need that, because the fact that she came out and won a show after not competing for 5 years kind of shows that she's not necessarily rusty. And this physique that she has right now is not going to be the physique she brings to Masters Olympia. She has a ton of time now to build the areas she needs to, I would say specifically the glutes. So I don't think personally there would be any point in stepping on stage much more this season if we're talking about just strategy. If we're talking about her just having fun, then yeah, go for it. But is that going to serve you in the long run when this is not what your physique is going to look like when you step on the Masters Olympia stage? I think no. I think what would make more sense is putting on the size you need and then coming back around closer to the Masters Olympia next year, then working out some kinks and whatever the posing is. She could work on posing now, but the physique she would be presenting to them closer to that show would be closer to what she's going to look like on the Masters stage. So I think that would make more sense. And in the meantime, she can work on this posing and stuff. Because yeah, I think this arm is out too far. It just doesn't look natural. And I think this hand is up too high. When we have our, it's even above her belly button. Like you see her knuckle is above her belly button here by a couple inches. So what I would say is bring it down, because when you have it up so high, it almost cuts the physique into 3 sections instead of top and bottom. So let's look at that photo compared to, say, I always bring up Jennifer Dory because she's my most searched, because I will type her name in and then go to the Olympia and then look at who had competed. So see how Jennifer's hand is in the middle of her physique, unlike Tiffany's, and how that gives her more balance, more symmetry from top to bottom, because this is all about symmetry. So that means, maybe I'm wrong, but, well, no, in the context of this, it's just top, upper half, lower half. When her hand is up this high, it kind of cuts her off and makes this top half way shorter. It ends up being 1/3 of her physique, and then from here down is 2/3 of her physique. So bring that hand down just brings more balance and symmetry to the whole physique. And I would bring that arm in closer so we can frame the glute, like you see Jennifer doing right there. I also think she could arch less. I think the reason she is arching so much is because she's trying to get her glute to pop more, which worked for her in this scenario. But I think what it does is it makes it look even more effortful than it needs to. So maybe for the purposes of this show, it was the right move, and I'm sure she's doing everything for a reason. But I think there's also an element of first time you've been on stage in a long time. Maybe you just are posing for a physique you used to have, or just making little mistakes that you haven't had to think about recently. So yeah, arch less, just look more natural overall. And arm closer, bring this hand down to the connector. Beautiful smile, great stage presence. She looks like she's having fun, which, like I always say, goes a long way. So love that. Love your suit. Did anyone watch Silence of the Lambs? When, what's his name? Hannibal Lecter says to the lady, as he has that little cage on his face, he goes, by the way, love your suit. It's like so campy. It's so good. Okay, so let's look at comparisons because she doesn't have a fully posed back pose. So let's look at her comparisons. Where are you? See, this is great balance. I think she's pinching her shoulder blades a little bit too much. Her conditioning looks really good. Like I said, I think it's just going to be a matter of filling out these glutes even more so she gets more of that pop. And notice that no one in this lineup has that kind of pop that I'm talking about. So let's look at a good example of pop. I would say, oh, Jeffree Star. Sorry, get him off my screen. I recently was watching not recap videos, but old videos about the drama that happened on YouTube, including Jeffree Star. So I was on his website the other day, but I swear I didn't buy anything. I do not support him. Anyway, so here's Ashlyn. Ashlyn is a great example from pop in that back pose. Let's go to her most recent show, which was the Olympia, where she placed 6th, which was awesome. Here is Ashlyn. And Tyler said that this is not as much pop as usual for her. Imagine that being not so much pop for you. So, yeah. All Tiffany needs is a little bit more muscle so she can get this 3D effect that Ashlyn is having. It's looking almost a little bit soft in this glute ham tie area, and that's just so she can have enough conditioning but not be overly conditioned and so she can get just enough of her glute ham ties to pop, but not so tight that she starts to look stringy and sees a bunch of detail right here. Like, we're seeing a lot of detail in this girl next to her. So yeah, overall, just more size, and it looks like that's really the only area she even needs more size. Maybe the hamstrings, bringing up the hamstrings a little bit, might accentuate how developed you get your glutes, so it might just make everything match, because she has great, round, very 3D shoulders here. So yeah, that's my take on her winning. Congratulations! And well done, Tiffany. Well done. Who came in second place? Angela. So, Angela, always killing it. And did I look up to see if she is qualified? I'm gonna assume she's qualified. But, yeah, she's kind of the definition of good everywhere and not great anywhere. I would say she'll need to bring up her glutes a bit. They kind of slope off back here, so I think that's her main thing. And then let's double check to see if she's qualified for the Masters Olympia. Wow, how have I been doing this video for 10 minutes already? I'm sorry. Maybe that was a bit too much. Yeah, Angela's qualified. So I would get off stage. She has a ton of stage experience. Look at all these times she's been on stage just this year. So, sorry, not this year. Yeah, this year. So I would say get off stage and go build your glutes so you can have an excellent showing at the Olympia. And then last year, she did not compete in the Masters Olympia. So yeah, that's what I would do. Oh no, sorry, I was looking at the wrong person. Anyway, yeah, she didn't compete there. So yeah, and then Stacy, we will briefly go over her. She proved us right. Just enough muscle to be in bikini. So good that she got third place above people who always consistently place in these Masters shows. So good for her. I would say she should angle a little bit more in the hips towards the judges because her upper body is looking a little overpowering. So I think if she angled more and opened up this stance a little bit, like we've talked about before, how there's not a standard pose for bikini. It's whatever makes you look most balanced. But I think that coming to this taper in the legs is making her look dominant in the upper body. So I would split that stance, and her arm could be a little closer to her glute, but it's nothing crazy. And yeah, I would just say she just needs to angle the hips a little bit more towards us, or even just see what it looks like when that foot is out in front of you. But that's kind of my take there. And then as far as her back pose, she is just going to need more depth to the glutes. So figure, it's not an upper body dominant division necessarily, but there is a big focus on having big enough lats, shoulders, have everything up there match. So I think it's just a matter of adding more size to this lower body, more size to the glutes, more size to the hamstrings, because you can see she's pretty conditioned. You're seeing this detail here, but you're not seeing that pop in that round hamstring muscle belly. And I don't think it's a matter of her posing, because she is externally rotating her knees a little bit, which will make some detail in the legs pop more, but it's just a size issue. So I would say compete some more if you want this year, get used to it, see if you like bikini, but in the long run, you'll just need more size. So yeah, that is Masters. So congratulations! And then we'll get rid of Ashlyn's photo, even though I don't want to because she's so incredible. I just want to look at it. Okay, and then let's go over the other show that occurred. And how did I not even mention the name of this show? Like I mentioned, of the Pit Parade Iron Diva Bikini show. The IFBB Nutriyummy Cup. Love that name. 2 points for my fellow queer people. Okay, so Nutriyummy Pro Cup. We had bikini and Evie won, and I am so sorry because I should have mentioned Chantel Hill and Jess Feeney in my preview last week, and I didn't, which is crazy. Number one, because Jess, we've been seeing her place really high. She's already Olympia qualified for 2025. And so I should have mentioned her, but I overlooked her. And then Chantel Hill, she's someone I've been following for years because she has a crazy physique. And I've just been, like, at her first pro show, I think she placed second or third. And then her next one, she placed second. She just kept just missing it. So, yeah, and we'll get into her, but I just want to say that, like, I'm a big fan. Okay, so Evie won. And then we have some exciting stuff about the person who got 5th place, because they actually reached out to me, so we will get into it. Okay, so Oh, this is just comparisons. Okay, so Evie won. Let's go over Evie. She switched back to the red suit. I think the red suit looks beautiful. And I also took some notes, so let me pull up my notes. But yeah, Evie looked fantastic. And then who else? Okay, yeah. She changed back to the red suit. Again, I think she could just bring her arm closer in. Oh, these nails are cute. Yeah, could bring the arm closer in. I think conditioning is really good. Honestly, it's hard for me to tell you with these European shows if the conditioning is where it needs to be, because there were some people at a show, I don't know if it was this one, but I was kind of surprised that they were lower. Actually, no, I agreed with the top 5 at this show. I think there was another show that I was kind of like having a question mark about, but I think this is really good. Notice how Evie is standing really tall and is getting that shoulder in line with her glute. I think that looks really good. I think she could even maybe not lean back, but it looks like she's a little bit leaned forward here, but she doesn't have weight in this front foot. Usually we'll see if somebody is hunched forward, it's because they have their heel on the ground. But yeah, overall, I'm just nitpicking. I think this is a great look, except for bringing the hand down. I would like to see her bring the hand down. Hair, makeup, perfect. Tan looks great. And let's look at her back pose. I think her hair could be shorter. I don't like that it's covering her glutes. And again, if it were a little bit shorter, then it would give her more depth to her physique, because that low back is pushed away and the glutes are popping forward. So if we were able to see those couple inches of the low back, then it would really exaggerate her hourglass shape. And what are judges looking for? Balance, hourglass shape, conditioning to see all the muscles pop, but nothing too detailed. So yeah, I like that. And yeah, I think that's all for Evie. She wore her hair straight. She's been wearing it wavy a lot. So I think she's probably wearing the same hair extensions, but since they're usually curled, then it shortens them. And now that it's straight, they're lengthened. So that's why it's covering her glutes. So that's my take on Evie. Congratulations, Evie. Now Olympia qualified for next year. Okay, and then we have Chantel Hill. Okay, I love Chantel Hill. So let's confirm what I said earlier. So she went pro in July of last year, and then her first pro show, she gets second. Her next pro show, she gets third. And at this show that she got second, the person who beat her, I think it was Valeria. So we've seen Valeria falling off recently. She actually just announced that she's going to do another show after she retired last week. So remains to be seen where her career stands, but I'm here for it. I like a little switch up. And then when she placed third, she was behind Roxana Marquez and Alice Marquezio. Those are usually the perennial Olympians. Roxana in 2023, that was the last time she made it to the Olympia, but she had trouble getting that qualification this year. So anyway, I think they made a great call with Chantel getting second place. I really want to see her win soon. I think a couple posing tweaks would help her. Notice that her shoulder right here is hiked up. Her shoulders are not level. She just needs to bring this shoulder down a little bit. Maybe if she brought her hand down a little bit, then that would bring her shoulder down. I mean, it would, but I think it's more just an issue of not being tense. So that, and then bringing the arm closer because it looks like it's waving out over here. And then same thing, maybe if she angled a little more than in the hips, then she wouldn't look as profile. But I would be interested to just see what it looks like if she brought the hand closer and leveled her shoulders. Because right now it just doesn't look very relaxed. Maybe it was just that picture. No, it's kind of like that the whole time. So yeah. That's what I think with her. And then I think her glutes are looking overpowered by her quads. Let me just make sure I had no notes. Her glutes are looking overpowered by her quads. And I think that all she needs to do, notice that this picture isn't totally centered, but notice how her toes are angled out. You want your heels to be in line with your shoulders, which they are. But if you are at risk of your quads overtaking your glutes in this back pose, then you want to angle your toes in a little bit. So they don't have to totally be facing straight on to the back curtain, but they need to be halfway to straight on to the back curtain, so we don't see these quads flare out and overpower her glutes, because her glute fullness is there. The conditioning is there. Maybe she's a little hard. Honestly, hard for me to tell. These are just show photos. I wasn't there. I'm sure it looked different in person. But yeah, if she made that slight posing tweak, I think she would get way better balance from top to bottom, because balance is about your muscles being as developed everywhere on your body. Nothing's over or underdeveloped. If anything, glutes maybe a tiny bit overdeveloped, but that will just lend itself to that taper from the glutes to the knee pretty much. So yeah, I would just angle the toes a little bit more. And let's see how it looked when she was in the back pose on stage. Yeah, she could just angle them a little bit more. But do I think it was just gonna be Evie either way? I don't know. Hard to say. I would like to see her make that tweak, but I'm sure that they probably made the right call, you know? So that's my take on Chantal. There's a Chantal Hall or Chantal Hill and then there's two people with very similar names. Okay. And then we have, who is this? Next person. In third place, Carrie Sexton. Oh, girl, I'm just waiting for her to get into a show that she can win. You know, I mean, not that everyone works hard, so it's not that people deserve a qualification more than others. But I would love to see her win. She's come in second so many times. Today she was third, but still, she's gotten third this year too. So yeah, I think again, it's just the waist. It's just, she needs to, you know, get it to tighten a little bit. I don't know how she does that, and I'm not by any means saying she has a big waist, but I'm just saying when you're up against these people with tiny, tiny waists, it's tough. It's tough. That is going to be kind of the deciding factor for her in a lot of instances, I think. I also think it could just be the photos, but she looks a little bit hard. You know, I'm seeing a lot of density and detail. So yeah, I think for her, it's just going to come down to, but the other people were pretty muscular too, but for her, I think it's just going to come down to the waist, because this pose is killer. I would straighten the arms a little bit because it's popping the rear delts a lot and they're looking a little bit overpowering, and I'm seeing a lot of the separation here. So I would just straighten the arms a little bit so it looks a little more relaxed and less pointy. So yeah. And then we're seeing a lot of detail right here, the grooves and stuff. Nothing crazy, but definitely seeing more grooves than we saw in those top two. So I think it's the conditioning situation and her waist. And again, I would like to see her in a softer color suit because she has a pretty hard physique. So I think that would lend itself to her overall look. Okay, then we have Jess Feeney, who is already qualified for the Olympia, and she placed 4th at this show, 3rd at her last show, 1st at the one before that, 2nd at the one before that, and then 2nd at the one before that. So she's been killing it this season, consistently in the top 5. My feedback is pretty much the same. She also changed her suit come finals, so the suit that she wore last week, the one that's a little more standard in the US at least, she ended up changing into this suit at finals. So yeah, what do I think with Jess? I think that this is not really a flattering pose. I know she's just in a transition, but I think it makes her look a little bit top heavy. And then what do I think about her front pose? The shoulders cocked up. I think she's just really hard. She has a lot of muscle, which is amazing, but she's just looking a little bit too conditioned compared to the top 2 at this show. Because I think the top 2, it was probably kind of tight, I would imagine. I mean, they both looked really good. It was just minor tweaks for Chantal, but maybe I'm just partial to her. I am not willing to rule that out. So yeah, I think just a little hard. I'm seeing a lot of detail here, seeing a lot of detail in this back shoulder, lots of detail on the leg, on the front of the leg. So yeah, and I think her angling this in the way is throwing off her balance, not making her too top heavy, but a little bit of imbalance in the fullness from the top to bottom. But I think the back pose is the real issue. She just needs more size. So if I were her, I would get off stage and put on more size onto her glutes, because you can see they're undersized compared to her legs. And I think the reason she's getting this conditioned is to make her glutes pop, but she's sacrificing the conditioning level they want in order to get her glutes to pop. Is it because she's just getting her glutes to pop? I don't know. Maybe this has been what she thinks is being rewarded too, this level of conditioning. So yeah, but I think she needs more glutes so we don't see the shallowness here next to the glute insertion, arching less, like I've said, not pinching the shoulder blades, like I said. And you can tell she's really pinching because you can see this skin folding here on her back. And she's looking rectangular here. She's not looking tapered. It's looking like one shape the entire way and not, yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And then cut the hair a little bit. But I think she just needs more size. That way she doesn't have to come in as hard. Okay. And then 5th place. Okay, so this is Inez. And Inez is somebody who I said we should look out for this show. Because she went pro last year and already... was it last year she went pro? Anyway, so... she already has been placing really well. In this Portugal show, she got 2nd to Evie, and Evie is the one who won this show. This show, she got 5th. But she's, yeah, she does really well. She does super well. So she actually reached out to me, and I will not be biased just because she reached out, and she even told me, don't be biased. But she said she watched my video, and she appreciated the posing advice I gave, and that she would try to implement it. Then I congratulated her after the show. And she said that she did her best but got nervous. But her back pose totally changed. And she said she didn't get any feedback on her back pose, which is usually something she gets feedback on. So I was super happy for her. What we said last time is that she was looking a little bit forced in her pose. We wanted it to look a little more effortless. So let's look at the show we compared last time to here. So the one she got 2nd, what I said about her back pose is that, there it is, okay. I said we wanted to open up the upper back and not pinch so we could see the taper from the lats into the waist, because when you're pinched like this, it does the same thing we were talking about with Jess, where it doesn't give the hourglass shape that they're looking for. We also said she should pull her bottoms down in the front, down in the back and up in the front a little bit so we don't see where this glute attaches to the low back. And we said a little bit less bend in the knees because you don't really want to be squatting into the pose. It just doesn't look as natural. But that her conditioning, skin, everything looks so good. And then with her front pose, I was saying she doesn't need to arch quite as much and to straighten that arm. And I don't know if I said, but take the hair off of her shoulder. So at this show, where's her front pose? So here she is in her front pose. Yeah, she looks great. So yeah, way less hair on the shoulder. I would still take off that little bit of hair on the shoulder. And I think she could straighten her arm a little bit just so it doesn't pop the shoulder forward, making it look like it's overpowering the arm. But her waist is looking very small, looking really good. And she looks very confident and excited to be on stage, which is perfect. So absolutely nailing that. I do like the pink on her. And what else would I say? Yeah. Oh, she said her feedback is that the judges said they wanted a little bit more definition in the core. It looked a little bit washed out. And she told me that she didn't carve up as much for this show, so maybe that's it. But something that my previous coach, Paul Ravella, said about his client, Ariana Brothers, former client Ariana Brothers, Jennifer Dory, after one of the shows she saw Ari compete at, asked what Ari's feedback was, and Paul said that it was more ab definition, and then Jennifer said, oh, the judges told me the same thing, so I started doing a light body weight 10-minute ab circuit every day, and got more definition in my core, and then no judges ever said it again. So maybe that's something that Inez could benefit from, and yeah, but I mean, at the very least, her proportions are still great. Her waist is looking very tight. And small compared to her muscularity. So that's really good. Let's look at the back pose. And we'll look at the back pose from the comparison photos because she is not facing straight on in the back pose, the single back pose I have. So, yeah, I think this is really good. She's not bending as much, so it's not looking forced at all. She's not pinching her shoulder blades together, so we're seeing that taper from the lats to the waist, which is amazing. So I'm super happy for her. Super happy to see that. 5th at a pro show is awesome. I really like how her hair is tapered because it shows her small waist in the back. But yeah, and everything is popping without having to squat into it like that. So I think that is great. And I think this suit is better. And I like that her arms look more relaxed. So yeah, overall, amazing. Congratulations. And then who else do we have? This person is Rania. Oh yeah, okay, I wanted to bring up Rania because I brought up Rania and then I brought up the other people. So, okay, Rania has been placing in that top 5 consistently, and I know we mentioned her, so I wanted to bring her up. I think the issue was that she just came in too conditioned, and there's some polishing things, like moving the hair off your shoulder, not hunching forward in this pose. So just pose and polish. And then Sarah Punzetti, she is someone that I said I thought might get 2nd place. That didn't end up happening. I thought she looked really good and really full and fit the bikini standard, but she just wasn't as muscular as the other girls that were in that top 5, so I think it was just a size thing. And then we talked about Anna Tharup, and I think that she looked a little bit fuller. For her, it's just going to be a size thing. And then the last person I pulled up is Lorena. She did not end up placing at this show, and I think for her, it's also going to be a size and polish thing, because I don't know that suit color is right for her. I think something like, I think she's worn a teal before or a red. Those looked really pretty on her. Yeah, I thought this was pretty. But yeah, so just more time to put on size. Okay, so that's that. And then we have one more pro show. Was it this one? Yes. Okay. So we have Moscow Showdown Pro. Okay, so in first place, we had Eugenia. I didn't see this coming. I feel like I couldn't find pictures on her. Yeah, I must not have been able to because there are no other pictures on NPC. So this is the show that I thought I was like maybe a little bit surprised by, because the person who won looked very hard. But looking back at the photos, I think the people who were fuller just were lacking some other things. So congratulations, Eugenia. Qualified for the Olympia. That's amazing. So I think this color is great on her. Love the hair. Tan looks great. There's not a fully posed back pose of her. So let's pull this up. Great balance from top to bottom. I think for her it's going to be just more size. So I would take some time off till the Olympia, or compete a couple more times and then take time off for the Olympia. But her shoulders are just looking like maybe they could use a little more size, or maybe she's just depleted and needs to be fuller. Maybe that's something that could be manipulated with food and not a size thing necessarily. Great conditioning in the glutes. We see the tie, but it's not etched in, so that's awesome. And I would probably, it looks like her shoulders are rounding forward a little bit, so I would bring these elbows in and try to really open up those shoulders. But yeah, I think she's doing a really good job, and I think if she opened up her shoulders a little more and maybe widened her stance just a hair, she might look a little more confident, and then cutting that hair for the same reasons we discussed earlier. And then and yeah, like I said, I think she's just a little conditioned, and I think it's just because she doesn't have like all the size in the world, so she needs to get this conditioned in order to see the inserts that you need to be able to see. And then in second place, girl, I feel for you. This is her second place this year. This is Ekaterina. And yeah, Bummerville, honestly. A third time. That's really tough. So what I would say, I'd bring this arm in, maybe open up a little bit more, but this might be fine. But yeah, I'd bring the arm in just to frame the glute better. And she looks a little profile, maybe angle yourself a little bit more opened up. But as far as for her, I think it's just going to be a matter of continuing and seeing if you can get the qualification, because she's gotten second so many times. I don't know. I don't love the ombre suit. I think it kind of washes her out at the top of this cup here. So I would get just a solid color suit. I think she would look pretty dynamite, like a green or a red. I think she's worn green before. But yeah, or just a full blue without the ombre. I also think the hair, I don't know if she wears a wig, but if she does, then like plucking the hairline a little bit to give it more of like the natural scalp kind of look, like a lace front or something. So yeah, that's my take there. And then maybe amp up the glam. She looks natural, but it looks a little bit too natural. And then let's look at her fully posed in the back pose, because again, she didn't have a fully posed back pose. So here she is. And yeah, maybe just growing the glutes a little bit more so they match the legs, but I think the suit color would really help her. I think that would give more contrast against the skin. So I would change the suit color, and I would also widen the stance a little bit. She looks a little bit nervous with this close of a stance, so I would maybe widen it just a hair, or yeah, that's probably what I would do. And then maybe a different suit cut. So see how we see more fabric in between the glutes on our winner? I think this one is cutting a little bit too soon, and I would like to see a tiny bit more fabric here and less of the wideness here, maybe. I'm not sure. I just think a more current suit cut would be better. Like Alessia's suit cut, I think is better. So yeah, that's what I think for second place. And then we have Alessia in third place. Congratulations. She has been moving up in her placings this year. She's qualified for the Olympia every year, that she's been competing pretty much, not every year, but for recently, like years and years in a row, except for this 2024 Olympia. So I'm happy for her that she was able to get her highest placing of the year so far. And I think she's looking really good. I think just a little bit too much graininess here and there. And I think, so I looked at her old pictures, so I'm like, maybe we should see a little bit less of her waist. Because it looks like it's just, she doesn't have a wide waist. But just structurally, she has a wider structure than some of the other girls. Because it doesn't look like her shoulder, it doesn't look like she's giving the hourglass as much. Looks beautiful, makeup looks pretty. I like the suit color, I like the hair color. But yeah, I think she has a structure that I think would do really well in figure if she ever wanted to put on more size. But yeah, because we're seeing a lot of these grooves in the hamstrings and stuff, the vascularity. I think she's just too hard. I think the suit cut could be scrunched more at the top, so it's more of that heart shape. But I don't think I don't think the suit is what stood in the way of her getting a first place. I know she has a lot of muscle, so maybe she didn't fill out quite as much because she didn't want to look overpowering. But yeah, and I'll show you what I mean with the waist, because there have been shows where she doesn't angle her waist so far forward, where she cuts it off a little bit, but then she loses this shoulder width. So it's just hard to say. If I were her and wanted to like not that she's not doing well, I don't mean that at all, but if I were her, I might just try my hand at figure, but that's a major jump from bikini to figure. That's like way more muscle, probably a lot more drugs, and so I feel for her. All I'm saying is that I feel for her because I know she probably was really disappointed that she didn't make it to the Olympia this year. So yeah, so good for Alessia getting that third place. And then I said we should look out for Leon. Oh no, I didn't. This is fourth place. So Liana, I think it's probably a size thing. I think she just needs a little more size on her upper outer glute here, which is pretty much everyone's feedback recently. I think, again, this suit could be scrunched a little bit more to give the heart shape and pulled down in the back and up in the front a little bit to really frame this glute, because her glute stops here, but the suit stops on her back. So I would just pull the suit down a little bit. Maybe it's going to be just a matter of a different cut altogether. But good for her. And her front pose, I think she's hunched forward and just needs to stand a little bit more upright, and that will eliminate all of the not wrinkling, but just we're seeing a lot of detail in this rib cage here with the skin. So I would just stand straighter up, and that would probably in turn level her shoulders. And then in fifth place, we have Aisha. And yeah, she looked fantastic. I like that she poses on the side that she has a shoulder tattoo on. I think it's just going to be more size for her. Her legs look like they could just use a little bit of volume. And then the last person, this is the person who I said hadn't competed since 2016, so we were curious to see how she would do. She did not place at this show, but she is a former Olympian, so yeah, this was Ekaterina Shakina. So yeah, that is my wrap up for these 3 shows. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, now I'm gonna either eat soup or make a video on the 4 lists that came out. Okay, bye!